Hi, everybody. Welcome to the final episode of Scary Movie Month 2024 at Reserve Seating. Bittersweet. We're excited about November, but we got to finish strong. There we go. The fist is what I was looking for. Is the symbol of strength.
Reserve seating starts right now.
So, Rob, at the
Yes.
beginning of the month, we were
Yes.
previewing what we were planning on watching and
Yes.
how our month was going to go. Did it come to fruition in the way that you planned?
You're going to be shocked, Adam, to learn
Okay. Yeah.
that it did not. I did, though, get to watch a fair amount of horror films. It just didn't happen to be the horror films I said I was going to watch. So I have a nice list of things, of rewatches, of new stuff that I saw that I'll mention. But it did not quite go the way I had set up. Now, you had a plan, you had a number,
Yeah.
you had a
I
goal.
always yeah, I had a goal. I always shoot for 60 movies. That's sort of my lucky number.
Yes.
Um where I don't feel burnt out all that much. But I feel like yeah, it just works out perfectly.
Hmm.
It's my number. One
Sure.
year I had like 55 and I was like, "Oh, I blew it." And then one year I had 62 and when I look back I'm like, "I overdid it."
But anyway, that being said, we do have a lovely variety of things to talk about here.
We do. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is revisiting the three movies that each of us said that we were going to watch for the first time in October. So Rob, what was the first one that you said you were going to watch, and how was it?
The first and only one that I said I was going to watch that I actually ended up watching, which is worth talking about.
Oh my
Which is,
God!
I have two corrections. Actually, I have one correction I have to make. So
Yeah,
Kiyoshi Kurosawa, whose film Cure is the movie that I'm going to talk about. Kiyoshi Kurosawa is 100% my jam. I thought Cure was awesome. This movie, if you don't know, Cure is about sort of hypnotism and
mm,
mesmerization and lots of very interesting sort of slow burn J horror kind of stuff, and I just really enjoyed watching it.
so I did, not to upstage you, but
No,
I did
no,
watch the
please,
three. I did
please.
watch the
You
three
did you
that
did
I
the thing
planned
you
to.
said you were going to do. Yes, yes,
I watched the first Power for the first time. It's a
yes.
Lou Diamond Phillips vehicle from 1990. It's basically Fallen before Fallen was
Mm.
released. It's a guy who's like an arch nemesis. He's a serial killer, and Lou Diamond Phillips captures him, and the guy goes on death row. And then, like, once he gets electrocuted, his spirit jumps bodies. And it's fun. It's like a really good, cheesy 90s action supernatural thriller. It made me really appreciate Lou Diamond Phillips in a way that I've always liked him, but I've never really like been like, I'm gonna seek out a Lou Diamond Phillips movie.
Right.
But now I kind of want to go back and watch some Lou Diamond Phillips movies that I haven't seen in a while. And I watched The Seventh Sign
Mhm.
because I was riding high on the Demi Moore run of The Substance. This is not anywhere near as good as The Substance. It's basically, yeah, I mean, what is, seriously? It's beautifully shot. It's from the late 80s. It's this apocalypse movie, and I couldn't really make sense of the plot all the time where she's pregnant, and it's either like her baby is the birth of her baby will bring upon the apocalypse or it will save us from the apocalypse. I couldn't really make sense of it. Jurgen Prochnow is in it as like a red herring.
Okay.
Um, there's a scene in the middle of the movie where it becomes this theological debate between Christianity and Judaism, and it's like a Jewish, like rabbinical student talking to John Hurt, who's a priest, and I was like, this is more interesting than anything else going on in the movie.
Yeah.
And other than that, it was just kind of a drag. I didn't really like it all that much. And then lastly, I watched Phantoms. All right, I don't think it's a good movie,
No.
but it's not as bad as I heard it was.
Hmm?
I was shocked how fast it just jumps into the plot because within like 3 minutes, it's like, oh yeah, everything's wrong. And I'm like, oh, you're not even gonna like lead into this at
Yeah.
all. But I was so shocked that spoiler Ben Affleck lives to the end of Phantoms,
'Cause
because I was like, he's got the end credit, he'll die in like 30 minutes, and then we'll be left with Joanna Going and Rose McGowan, and it'll be boring and stuff like that. But he was still around the whole time, and like anytime Affleck was on screen, I was engaged. So
because
yeah,
you're a human being with a heart and a soul. That's why.
exactly. So Rob, what are some new to me movies that we didn't talk about already that you caught in October that like really got you, that like you really liked a lot?
I know I'm probably wearing out my welcome here with this one, but hopefully at this point, because we've talked about it on the podcast, and I've seen a few other people mention it, I'm just going to throw out Mads again, French up all night zombie thriller on Shudder. I really really enjoyed it. I watched it again and was just really enamored by the craft of it. That'll be high on my list for the year, I think. Not just for
Mhm.
horror movies, but probably for lists for the entire year. And like Trap again, like which we were not really talking about. I guess is the first time watching. Did I see that movie in October? I don't remember when I saw that movie first.
Hmm.
Whenever it screened first is when we saw it. But watch that again now that it's on Max. And again, just the fun of it.
I really enjoyed Smile 2. I was very surprised by how good that was. It's sort of the leap of Terrifier to Terrifier 2, I thought, for me, where it was just the director kind of working out the kinks in the first movie and kind of delivering everything that they wanted out of that premise in the second movie. I think it's so well made. Naomi Scott is giving like one of the all-time horror performances. She's kind of in Catherine Deneuve in repulsion mode in it. It's a very flawed hero or protagonist, so I enjoyed that. It wasn't like an innocent person like Sosie Bacon kind of was so much. So you kind of like are okay with her being run through the ringer. The music in it is great. It's one of those rare occasions where it's like a pop star and they created original music for it, and you could be like, wow, this is better than Sabrina Carpenter. I mean, it's just like it's really catchy music. And I just had a great time with it. I thought it was really, really good. It'll be on my top 10 list. And then the other one was The Spiral Staircase. It's a thriller from the 1940s. And it sort of acts like as a proto slasher a bit, but it's also sort of like a haunted house mystery where there's a killer and like, just people who don't trust each other. And it's beautifully shot. It just looks great. I watched it on YouTube, and even from there, like I don't know if it's just the transfer, but like the cinematography is just like really catching. And it was the first movie of the Music Box of Horrors, which I was unfortunately unable to attend this year, but I caught about a half dozen of those movies at home, and I was really impressed with Spiral Staircase. I thought it was great. Were there any movies that you had seen before but got the Scary Movie Month bump for you in October, where after a rewatch you were like, oh, okay, I like this movie now, whereas I was maybe on the fence about it before?
Yeah, I'll mention two. I rewatched Shyamalan's The Visit, which I had not seen since it came out. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I think because, and you can, it's kind of funny because you can track this in real time over the course of the last couple of years. You can see me fall off the Shyamalan bus and then get back on it again with Trap. Where I was watching the Visit and thinking to myself, I remember seeing this and wondering why Knight thought this was a good idea. And now I see exactly what he's doing in that movie, and he's such
Mm-hmm.
a dad and he's such a dork. I really enjoyed watching it post Trap and really appreciating it as not young M. Night Shyamalan maverick trying to reinvent cinema, but more dad M. Night Shyamalan trying to make stuff that his kids can watch. You know what I mean? Like that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So love that. And then the other big one, which I didn't really expect, but I got the 4K Criterion of Lost Highway. There was a flash sale recently, and I'm in the midst of upgrading my collection. And so I got the 4K for Lost Highway, and like of course, David Lynch is my favorite filmmaker. It seems funny to say I had a magic viewing of a David Lynch movie because all of his movies
Mm-hmm.
are magic for me. But I think I finally had my magic Lost Highway viewing
Oh,
where
okay.
it just 100% clicked for me in a way that, again, it's a movie I've always liked, but I always thought of it as a sort of like the new Nightmare to Scream, sort of like
Sure.
he's warming up for Mulholland Drive.
Mhm.
And now, even though I recognize this sort of symmetry, and I think this is the first time I've watched it post Twin Peaks: The Return as well, where I'm seeing a lot of similarities in terms of the cadence of the movie, the long pauses between dialogue and things like that, and the sort of industrial toned anger in it. And so again, it feels very strange to say I had a magic viewing of a David Lynch movie, but I think this was my magic viewing of Lost Highway.
That's great. Yeah, I like both of those movies a lot. I appreciated The Visit a lot because it was his comeback movie, and it was like, oh, okay, this is like he's got the wheels back on the track, and it was kind of nice. And then Lost Highway, I was lucky to see it in theaters the first time I saw it, and that was a great way to watch it because it was so loud and just
Yeah.
like overbearing, and that's how that movie should play. It's really aggressive and like you said, angry and really good.
Mhm.
I had two also. My first one is The Fog, John Carpenter's The Fog, which I wasn't a big fan of the first time I saw it because I just didn't think that there was much to it.
Yeah, I find it
Um,
kind of slow.
yeah, I thought it was kind of slow. I didn't really like the story all that much. Um, I it has very minimal plot.
Mhm.
It's just mood, and I thought the performances were kind of caricatures more so than anything. And with this time, I just fell under the spell of it. I just kind of gave myself over to the filmmaking of it and the tone and the music and just the mise en scène and everything like that. So I enjoyed it a lot more than I used to. It's not among my favorite Carpenter movies, but I also had sort of a my second magic viewing of Halloween 1978
Yeah.
also. It was the I rewatched it this weekend, and it was the first time I've loved it since the first time I saw it. So
Nice.
that was nice. But my other pick was the 2012 Frankenweenie, which was the kickoff movie for Scary Movie Night at the Bromleys. So thank you, Patrick, for setting that up. And I resisted Frankenweenie when I saw it in theaters because it wasn't my Frankenweenie because I had seen the short
Mm.
so many times over the years, and I decided that's what Frankenweenie was, and I didn't want to see it expanded upon. And I thought that it was just kind of more lazy Tim Burton, but this time I don't know, it just really worked for me. I thought the themes kind of affected me just in terms of grief and kind of losing somebody that's important to you. And I thought that it was really cool having a 3D animation black and white feature, and I just really kind of dug it in a way that I hadn't before. We're gonna get nasty for a second.
Ooh.
What was the worst movie or the viewing that kind of grinded your gears the most of any movie this month?
Well, I didn't. I had for a while. I had Twixt as my
Okay.
gear grind and what the fuck. But and then I watched something else, and I think you
I
know
know
what
what
it's
this
going to
is.
be.
Yeah.
I fucking hated Strange Darling. Um, I hated that movie.
Yeah.
I hated its presumption. It did about 8 things in the first 15 seconds that I hated. I think that movie digs itself a gigantic hole and never climbs out of it.
Mhm.
I think that it is presumptuous. It's not nearly as smart as it thinks it is. It gives away everything that's interesting about it in the first couple minutes. You can see where it's going from a mile away. I think it's audacious to put a title card at the front of your movie bragging about shooting in 35 millimeter and then have your movie look like hot dog shit. I think that movie looks terrible.
Yeah.
I understand that Will Fitzgerald is giving a performance that a lot of folks are, we see a lot with the Terrifier movies, and there's actors I think are in many cases in projects like these largely innocent when it comes to what they're doing, and I think that for folks who find Fitzgerald's performance to be exceptional, I think that's great. I hate to be cruel. I hate to be crass. I hate to be negative here on Scary Movie Month because we love scary movies. But that was everything that was wrong to me about not only just wannabe auteurism, Tarantino-esque ripoff stuff. I just deeply, deeply dislike that movie.
Yeah, it's a movie that like begs for adoration.
Yeah.
And I liked it a little bit more than you did, but I wouldn't go much further than giving it like a C plus or
Yeah.
something like that. Like I think there's certain things in it that stuck with me, but it's not anything special that like I think we need to, really kind of throw flowers at. It reminded me of like a dingy, unpleasant 2000 early 2000s Anchor Bay movie. So my pick, it's a twofer, but it's sort of like it's similar themed. I did a back to back of Thanksgiving and Krampus,
Hmm.
and I hate both of those movies.
Yeah.
I thought that they were kind of okay or not for me, but I owed them a second chance. And it doesn't help that they both open with like consumer stampedes.
Yes, they do.
Um, but they're both movies populated by characters who are by design reprehensible, even
Really.
though like sympathetic ones suck.
Yep.
And I just really don't like the whole, and this extends past horror. It could be to
Mm.
Christmas comedies or holiday comedies and stuff like that. Like when it's just like cynicism is the thing. I have a very low tolerance for it, and then especially with Krampus, it's just like I don't know. Trick or Treat is a movie that's sort of like I used to like, but I don't really like anymore because I think it's sort of up its ass.
Yeah.
And I feel like with Krampus especially, it so thinks that it's immediately this Christmas classic, and all of the creatures, with the exception of like the Krampus at the end, are not that interesting looking, and like it's like whoop de doo, you're cynical and you're nihilistic, and I don't know, it just they were just bears to get through, both of them, especially when I watched them back to back. I'm noticing anytime I see David Koechner in a movie, I want to run through a window. Like I get his thing and I get why you hire him, but he's too good at it. But Scary Movie Month was a blast as always.
Of course. Happy
And
Halloween. Happy
I
Scary
love
Movie
this
Month.
time of year. Happy Halloween, happy Scary Movie Month. This is airing on Halloween, so especially happy Halloween. Have fun trick or treating, have fun. It's on a Thursday, so I don't know if anybody's doing holiday parties or anything like that, but just have a good time, enjoy it.
If you get Reese's cups, send them to me.
Those are good. If you get fun size Snickers, send them my way. And we're gonna be back next week with the start of Joe Montana. Is that what we decided it was called?
You got it on the first try. I was practicing it and I couldn't get it on the first try.
It's a month-long tribute to Joe Montana. It's interesting though because we've cherry-picked some of the best already for previous reviews. So
Yes.
we're going with some deep cuts.
Hmm.
And next week I would say is one of them. Rob, what are we watching?
Next week we are watching Forget Paris.
Starring Billy Crystal and Deborah Winger, and Joe Montana, I think, is the friend.
Really, Joe Montana is always your friend, first of all.
Of
And second of
course.
all, if he's in it, there are no small parts for Joe.
Yeah.
He's always larger than life.
I feel like it's gonna be 30% me talking about Joe Montana next week and 70% being like, you know what? I think I might be the biggest Billy Crystal fan of our friend group. So until next time.
Eat candy and watch movies.
And don't take your decorations down until midnight, November 1st.
I would even wait.
Or even wait, yeah.
Christmas.
Till Christmas?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I don't know. One time I left my Halloween decorations up until about November 15th. And then a maintenance guy came into my place and he was just like, you still have your Halloween stuff up? And I was just like, I pay my rent. Leave me alone.